Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the EmpathyRX podcast. This is episode 40 with Aaron. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, how's it going, Brett?
Hey, better than I deserve. I am so glad to have another returning guest here on EmpathyRX. It not only fills me up with happiness and joy and possibility, but it also goes to show that what it is I'm doing is working. And some people, I guess, when they're creating projects, they're looking for that. So I found mine. I'm ready to move forward. But So how have things been since the last time we talked? What have you really been generating? I didn't know if you wanted to share any of that with our listeners before we go into the thank you.
You know what? Since we last talked, I have done a lot of hypnosis and body language translation. A lot of healing work, and I really solidified some concepts that helps a lot of people understand the mind and body connection to a point where it doesn't feel out of reach, especially in society right now. So being able to understand how the mind and body connection works together, it's just amazing to be able to heal any past trauma within 10 minutes. Pretty crazy, right? But once you really understand that you could be the parent to that child needed during that time, then you can really transform your entire nervous system. So what I've been doing since we last talked was really continually still diving into how the mind and body works together, so that way we can shift the healthcare paradigm from where it's at to a more empowered and coming from more of a place of love versus greed.
I agree with that. I feel like that's been a really vocal. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for sharing that. Easier said than done. I can definitely start there. Yeah, but I'm looking back here at. I'm literally scrolling so everybody else can too. Yeah, it was July 20th. I cannot believe that it was July 20th when we last had you on.
Wow, that's a while ago, July.
I like to review in the moment, Aaron, if I can share this is something recently before we get into the thank you that I think is, if listeners can really take this with them, is still be shocked in life, still be in awe, still be in wonder. Because I think in today's, I would call it today's programming, we'll call it. In today's programming, whatever happens throughout our day and whatever it is we scroll through, wherever it is we're doing throughout our life, is you're going to run into moments regardless where you may just go or oh, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I feel like, and I don't know, the reason why I'm bringing this up is it's like this, I feel this, and it's almost an energy from you of possibility. And it's not just what it is you're already creating, but it's when you've been able to, I don't know, I really see trauma as a battlefield, right? I don't know if I've said this before, but I see it as a battlefield. And it's not bad. It's there. We know the battle's going on for those who want to, first of all, look to see that the battle's going on. Then there's the acknowledgement of that, in my opinion. Then once you're able to help yourself, then to see that if you want to, and it's the brave, it's the courageous, and I want to acknowledge and say that you're one of them. I know we haven't gotten to thank you for you yet, but I want to thank you, is being able to go back into that battlefield when others, when whatever it is that's there, and it's not what will come up, it's what it is that you have that you can use to contribute and help. And I think that's a different, a battle when you're on a battlefield, is having the mindset and having a plan versus just running in head first into the firing squad, I guess. Not here to promote violence, but I know that's one of the analogies people will use as war or battle or any of that for that. Yeah, no, I just wanted to drop that. All right, so community, thank you.
Powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. To be in awe, to be in shock, to look into that, and then to look into what comes out of that. Some people, I guess, it almost is its own little, I guess, energy in and of itself. It's coffee with the effects of coffee without coffee, I guess, if people are looking for those. As to some people, they wonder, like, how are you able to stay up late at night and do X, Y, and Z? And I don't know if you want to speak for yourself with your project, but for me, it's happiness and seeing what it is you're creating and generating and the difference that it makes. And wow. I'm starting out another part is I'm going to, first of all, ask for your thank you. Is there anybody you'd like to acknowledge at this time that's made a true difference since last time we've talked, or even the same?
Yeah, I would acknowledge God, the universe, source, love, happiness, just for really helping me connect deeper inside of myself. And as a reflection of it, I've been really meeting a lot of very warm, kind-hearted people that are helping me advance to the next level in life, to what the world needs right now. And my family here to be able to support me on the times where I'm not feeling the best version of myself, because I can be pretty critical of myself. So I actually just met this. When we start to be in alignment with our highest versions of ourselves, we'll meet those people like superheroes that'll help change and shift this world.
Yeah.
And my fiance is one of them, and we've been really co-creating together with my daughter. And we met this other couple. He's a famous psychic. His name is Stephen Lafferty, and his wife Denise Lafferty. Just meeting them expanded my mindset on spirituality and how patterns work in this world and the collective consciousness, to be able to work with the collective, to use and work with the collective to bring light where the darkness is. There's a good amount of society right now that's in this place of emotional slavery, and they're not aware of it. So being able to connect.
Hold on. You're good. I like this. Let's do it. Let's run with it. So let's tie in what, in your opinion, is happening in healthcare. Let's do it. Yeah. What is this? Because this is all tied together. Your thank you, and it is. It's fine. There's nothing wrong here. This is coming out, in my opinion. So let's go. Let's do it. So
absolutely. So what's my opinion on healthcare?
Mm-hmm. With that, because you're that energy that you're talking about, this overall, I guess, how else do you really say it? I don't want to say pest. I don't know. It is. It's like this essence, right? It's almost as an essence or a wisp of something that's present in politicians. It's present in anybody that's really wearing a suit. I guess if I have to really start there, it's present everywhere now. I guess even online, I was saying, I just want to declare this here because we're making powerful statements. I feel is that, and I don't know if it's true. And I'd love to hear back. Is Yahoo was saying that 80% of households right now in the United States are at a worse financial situation than they were prior to COVID. So that's just the financial side of life. There's all the different conversations I think that happen within the heads of the people you're talking about and the general public too, right? And one of them is finances. That's one of the conversations. But another one is, and I think this is the defining point, and I'm glad what it is that you're creating, Aaron, is you turn up the conversations elsewhere, because it's amazing how those other conversations in life have an impact on that one that everybody's so worried about. And it's not to say that, like, and for those who are listening, like, Brett's loaded. Absolutely not. If anything, if you gave me a pound of money and a pound of happiness, you would have already seen in the person's hand, and I'm already running. That's what happened, because there's the one you can reprint, the one for some reason they can print it faster than we can make it. But the other one, you literally have to be present. And it's one you could even give yourself. And that's just, I guess, possibility. And possibility could be finding out that you're not happy for the day and acknowledging that you have a bad day and the bad days can exist. And I know for me, one of the ways that I had grown up, and it wasn't just, my own parents or any of that, it's just social structure in society too, is being able to make that outreach and have that comfort to know, hey, beyond whatever it is in your social structure, something doesn't feel right. And I know that it's not, and I'm going to say something, versus the people who maybe stay within that, like you were talking to. I don't know. I'm just going to throw it in. There's a book that I had, and this author too, and you can look at the past episode. Her name is Jennifer Jessic, and in it she talks about a research article in her book, which is the Psilocybin Handbook for Women. She talks about the default mode network. And I'm not proponing any kind of plant medicine in any way, shape, or form. I'm really proponing that you do your research and educate. But one of the things that she has found through her research, not personal, but what she shared in her book through research, was that when people have used psychedelics, and again, I know you're not condoning this in any way, shape, or form on this part of the show. This is Brett mentioning this, just so everybody knows. But it turns off that default mode network. And I still think it's a possibility to do that without these substances as well. And I'd be interested as compared to literally just being able to sit down with, I don't know, when I, as a United States citizen, Aaron, sit down and think, what can I do for my wellness? Besides the fact of going to whatever it is that my primary care physician will say, I would literally like to go in and say, like, what are the other possibilities that are out there right now? What could I use my HSA account money for, really, if I wanted to? That could be maybe you could audit. Let's see it, and literally let the patient go, hey, you kind of, there's a fine distinction, I think, in today's society between patient advocacy and making a profit. And the distinction between the two is knowing that you're actually making a difference in the overall patient's life through research, and you're going back there post discharge, not just when they're a patient in the hospital, or not just when they're a patient coming in for their yearly visit at the primary care physician's office. Like, patient is a patient year round, just like a nurse is a nurse year round, just like an emotional regulator is an emotional regulator year round. Sort of. There's distinctions too on, personal life, but I think it's that essence of what it is you want to contribute back to society, that sense of being, when I say being a nurse or being a doctor, being an emotional regulator or being a community healer. See what I'm saying?
Yes. Powerful.
Okay. Got it. All right. So then back into what it is you've been creating. I didn't know if there's anything you'd like to share with our audience from what it is that you have found since the last time that we did connect, or with awe, wonder. Is there any awe or wonder that you've run into so far with what it is you're creating that you'd like to share?
Yeah, just with everything that you're saying about just that default mode. I think we all have this default mode, and with the healthcare system where it's at right now, all the nurses and all other disciplines, I think over time, as everybody starts to feel burnt out, they lose a connection with themselves, and with that loss of connection with themselves, that starts to become their default mode, where they don't know where to start anymore. They don't know how to reverse burnout, and it's actually scary to see because like there's a huge nursing shortage that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they question, like, how do I get back into either falling in love with what I'm doing as a nurse, or what should I do now, since I don't want to do nursing anymore? It's too much for me. And the huge thing that comes to my mind is that no one knows what they're actually feeling and how to actually regulate what they're feeling, or they have to wait a couple months or maybe a couple weeks just to talk to their therapist.
You're right.
Yeah. And it sucks because even if they're at their shift right now, the best time to regulate their feelings is actually when they feel triggered. And then you have to wait for a while, then re-trigger that to get that memory coming back up. And most of the time they keep retelling that story, and that's reconditioning their body to feel that same pain. When in reality, that trauma that you were saying earlier, quote unquote, could be a battlefield, but it really is just a past version of themselves that want to be seen, heard, and loved. That's all it is. Any trigger, anytime you're feeling triggered, you actually get the opportunity to heal from that past experience. And it's crazy because a lot of people that are suffering from any mental or emotional challenges, it is not our past experiences that made us who we are today. It is how we recorded those past experiences that made us who we are today. So anytime we have a trigger, we're given the chance to reframe that memory, which means that you get to be the parent to that child needed during that time, or that past experience, that past version of yourself needed that guidance during that time. And when you are, and when you do, your whole nervous system starts to change. Your personality starts to change. Yeah. Because when you reframe a memory, you no longer have triggers or reactions that no longer serve you anymore. So if a nurse goes back to work and used to be angry at this patient because that patient was angry back at them, if they touched and felt and heard and seen that past version of themselves, they're going to have the ability to respond. They're going to realize that they don't have a reaction anymore. And they get to go home knowing that they were able to hold space versus absorbing that negative energy, but going home where then they can rest and recharge versus still clocking in their mind, retelling all the past or experiences they had throughout the shift. So they get to actually rest and recharge, and they feel more inspired going back into work. So just to sum everything up, everything starts and ends with the feeling, but we start back into our feeling as a last possible solution. Like, we're all avoiding our emotions, and it's crazy because everything starts and ends with the feeling. Most of the time, our goals in life is to feel better, but we can't feel better until we get to our goals. That's wrong. You got to start feeling better now. And as a byproduct, when you start feeling better now, you're feeling more connected with yourself, to where you have a new default system of connection and love and compassion and authenticity. And where then the success that you're trying to go for, the goals that you're trying to go for, is just coming to you as a byproduct, because you only attract what you are, not what you want. So it's been my mission to be able to help these nurses and everybody that, basically the whole society, to start feeling their feelings, now, to start feeling better. That's the only way to feel better, is regulating your feelings now. Because if you don't deal with that trigger now,
Yep.
you're going to have to deal with it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,
Yep.
60 years from now.
Yep. Or it'll come up the most inconvenient times in your life as well. I know, if I can share, that was a lot. And I can only imagine the time period in which you mention your declaration as to what it is you're doing in existence, as to why it is you want to help. And it's amazing to see, once that knowledge is stopped, what comes out of that, and the conversations or stories, as I call them, stories, and because a lot of times they are just stories, they're not reality. And again, I guess for me, it's to see if you could potentially look for sources, because most people in this life, they want the why, we want the rationale, and we want to see it. But then there's times where there is the answer that's given, and people go, they want to look for another answer. Maybe it's something else. Perhaps it's not that. Perhaps it's this, and perhaps it's the one that you just thought of. Perhaps it's what just happened, and I guess for me, if I can share, just being the United male in the United States of America, I think definitely being in touch with my emotions and being able to talk about my feelings has truly not only made a difference in my life, but also I think throughout the patient experience that I've been a part of. I've had, I think, patients share more genuine and authentically at the bedside as to what it is they truly wanted, whether the provider wanted that answer or not, or whether they were looking in their head and had a story, which is possible in any way, shape, or form to come out, whether it's a doctor, surgeon, any of that. But to truly hear the answer of a patient when you've truly stepped out of your overall sense of being. Because I think that's one of the things about healthcare, or just being a healer in general. And Linda had said it on a past podcast, and I bring her up, is anybody can be a healer. Anybody that's kissed a boo-boo, any of that. So people that think, and I just want to say this, Aaron, because I've had people that feel like they don't belong on this podcast. They feel like they have no word. They have no value to generate. And honestly, the big part is a lot of them are healthcare professionals. So it's interesting to see that potential impact. And I'm not here to blame or tell people or diagnose. Again, this whole podcast in general is not for medical, nursing, financial, or legal advice. It's to literally provide a spot for a voice for people to talk about these things. Because even me working as a male in nursing too, having other men in nursing, I'll never forget when my past job where I'm at, I have 2 right now that I'm at, and I'm able to thankfully maintain them both. But the one I went into, I was treated a certain way by a CNA, and I've had this happen working both contract and travel and whatnot. And it's amazing to see that it was the fact that there was another male nurse who had worked there before, and it was a conversation in her head, and she was able to clear it up herself, and there was no altercations, there was no arguments whatsoever. It was just the vibe, and it was to see that it was trust, it was rapport, and I think that's a big part when someone really wants to be able to bring out that emotion, and to see, like, in society, you don't have that. You don't have a sign that comes, or a commercial for Black Friday or Cyber Monday that goes, come on down. Like, we're actually genuinely, authentically going to talk about your feelings, and people, I guess, to try on and see those, and to see that, I don't know, I think in society, I'm just going to say it, and Terrence McKenna had said it in one of his past speeches, people think things are getting weird. I think they're just going to keep getting weirder. And the interesting part is we're in the middle of the part of history where I think technology has caught up, and we're just literally looking at what's coming out of that. And it's amazing to see not only that, but the impact of what we can see statistically so far, what it can do, whether it's AI, whether it's whatever else it is, computers in general, technology. The wheel used to be the computer years ago, and seeing what starts to matter in people's lives, what can now be put on autopilot, like the bills. And people are all about their bills and making sure they're done on time, and they have autopay now. So that's, like, in history, somewhat has taken out some worry or whatnot, whether or not somebody wanted to use autopay or not. But to see that when technology is the way that it is right now, in a post-COVID world, people are looking into their emotions. And it's interesting to see that there was the conversation with elders that I've talked with years ago when I was a kid and whatnot, and they talked about it. And they said how important, yeah, emotions, they're so great, you know, and I did. I blew it off. I farted it off. I'll declare it. And it's amazing to see that distinction in the conversation when you revisit and see that what it really does. When you genuinely try it on, when you try on feeling, when you try on emotion, when you try on your overall sense of being who it is that you are, I feel like it's like no piece of clothing you could have ordered via Amazon Prime. It's like no piece of cloth that's ever been produced for any king or queen everywhere. It literally, when you put that on, Aaron, at least for me, when I put it on, it's beyond any thought of value. I think it is like super powerful. What about yourself?
Wow. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, Especially because, you know, when you put on things that you love the most, uh, you feel that, again, sense of connection with yourself, the highest vibration of yourself. And when you continue doing that, doing the things that you love to do, you're going to continue showing up from a place of love.
No. And last I noticed, not that I'm a hunting man or any of that, but last I noticed, those who do seek bear, if they need it for their own sustenance and survival, they don't go hunting with vinegar. Usually they go hunting with honey. And I think that's usually why they have a better return.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said that to patients at the bedside too. For those who may, if they're going that grumpy patient, first of all, acknowledge they may be scared to death. And then second of all, literally just do that. Just be present and see what happens. Some of them they do. And it's amazing that the ones that are the grumpiest are the ones that are on their call like the most. And people think, wow, you know, like this is so-and-so. And it's like, are you going in to that room with a fresh perspective this time? Because honestly, I feel like the perspective sometimes of those patients are pretty consistent. Not to say it makes it easy, because it doesn't, but it I think helps bring a lot more to light. And I've had that patient, that trouble patient, I've had them cuss up management. I've had them look and have my back because I was genuine and authentic, and I stepped out of my sense of being. And the best part was, and this is the part everybody else doesn't really think anything is, it'll happen naturally. If you're trying hard, it's not happening. Like,
so good.
Yeah, I'm serious. And I people have said these things in the past, time and time again. If you're trying something really hard, too hard, then you probably are trying too hard. And there's a difference between trying something on for the first time, where you do that. You know, you sit there and you experiment with matter or a sense of being, and you get to see that, and then to know that once you finally figure it out, whatever it is, and you want to share it, whatever it is, with others, because it made a difference in your existence. I don't know. I don't see any other greater gift. I don't see it. And there's no price tag on that either. I call that, in my opinion, peace of mind.
Yes. It's so good. Authenticity and being willing to make mistakes.
Yep.
Because that's why that's something huge for the past 2 weeks is just always trying to make it perfect. And, you know, it puts me in a place of working too hard. And it takes me away from the connection from humans, you know, when you're trying too hard, because you're always in your head. So the moment where you completely let go is the moment where you have that deeper relationship with somebody and yourself, because now you're not hiding a version of yourself that's just scared of being accepted.
Yeah. Or was keeping you, or whatever conversation it was keeping you up against something, you know, and it's once that's gone, once it's down, once the wall has been torn down or the gate has finally been opened, what comes beyond that? Oof. And that's the beauty of it, whatever it is. Like, and it's amazing to see, because sometimes it's like, well, I didn't think that would have happened, but hey, I like this. Let's see what happens. What can I do with this? And you try on and you trust yourself. I think once you work through emotion, that's one of the things that comes out. There's a lot that comes out. It's almost like a 90 party, okay? Right? Where everybody's finally like, they're 90 or they're 100. You're like, it's a big deal. Things can be more of a big deal. That's another thing to try on this. Make something a big deal. Not argumentatively, not financially. Try your hardest to make something a big deal in a situation and see what happens with others and their reactions. Because I think the reactions of those in your social structure too can kind of give rise as to that overall creation you were talking about, wanting to acknowledge emotions, because some of the people in certain people's social structures, for those who want to acknowledge it and see it, Sometimes you may be in the eye of the storm and you may not know that you are. It could be your social structure. But for those who are like, I've tried everything, look for that. See what happens. Try it. Try it on. You'd be surprised. And it doesn't mean you have to let members of your social structure go, whether it's family, friends, any of that. It can be learning to be able to set a boundary. Growing up, I know not just myself, but others, we weren't taught boundaries. And sometimes when you're not taught boundaries, it's easier to be able to pop in and change the default mode network, as we were talking about earlier. You get to go in and literally be a biological hacker, if I have to really say it. And it's not always that bad. There's a distinction between biological hacking and parenthood, I think. And I think we're as a society, I think we're still kind of figuring that out, Aaron. And I don't know if you could share from your experience, but this is a pretty big one, is that overall sense of being is not only stepping out for others, but still making that time for yourself to preserve that essence. You still make that time to preserve that essence so that you can provide that for others, not pouring from a cup that's empty.
Yeah, there's this analogy that goes, if the plane goes down, you have to put the oxygen tank on you first to be able to help that person. So that's definitely something that I've noticed is for all the people that I have been helping, healing can be, even as a nurse, it can be very draining at times if you're not having that time with yourself. The best version that I could be is taking care of myself first, because when I take care of myself first, my family's taken care of. And my clients, and if myself last, to make sure other people are good, I'm only able to give what's left of me. You know what I'm saying? If I'm feeling drained, I'm not able to be at a space that's higher than their emotional state, where they won't have the most effective session with me, or where my family doesn't have the most present self of myself in the moment. So it's always important to be able to take care of yourself first without thinking that it's selfish. And I think in this society, we're starting to believe that if we put ourselves first, it's going to be selfish. But in reality, when you do put yourself first, when you do the things that you love first and take care of yourself, you're able to show up at a higher level for your family, friends, and loved ones. So it's definitely something that I've been working, flowing and growing into to be able to show up for the people around us.
Yeah. And I want to offer this, because I think this is one of the things that goes counted with this, because I feel it is a journey. I'll throw that in there. It's a journey. Because some people think it's going to happen overnight, or they're looking for that, or they're looking to happen after a week, or they have some story in their head to the timeline. Because we live life in measure as humans. Nothing wrong with having measure. That's fine. Have milestones, I think. But I want to offer this, and it's something that you have, and I mentioned it earlier about the battlefield aspect of going back in, but it's the acknowledgement of knowing that about yourself, and the constant ability to tell yourself that. Because once you do step into these senses of being, and you step into new senses of being, I still think the body is still catching up. Like there's times where I've literally been bold and I've said what it is I wanted to, and my knees got weak and they started to shake, and I'll declare it. And it's what happened, or my heart rate picked up to going and I'm literally 80. It'll be 80 beats per minute, and then I'll be online for like a Twitter space, and it'll shoot up to like 140. And it's not, there's nothing wrong here, but it's what it is you're talking about. Your body is so used to that, and you're stepping out of your program, and your body, in my opinion, I feel this is going, what's going on here? Like, you are not comfortable like you're used to. Why are you doing this? And then it's like almost, I don't know. I think the essence and the discipline of knowing that exists, first of all, and then knowing that you need to be able to take care of yourself and others, that's the discipline first. You do that, and then being able to do that each and every time, and then come back. Because it's almost like, for those who play video games, there's times where you have to collect stuff and then hide. Then you have to collect stuff and then you have to hide.
Yeah,
and it all adds up. It's 365 days in a year. So it's amazing when you do one thing every day. They'd all kind of add up. You have pretty soon after a year, you have 365 small things. I'm not here for mansplaining or whatsoever, and that's amazing. It's just one sign of measure is throughout the year. So, yeah.
And that becomes your new default system the more you do that. Mm-hmm. You get to choose what your default system is. You just got to keep conditioning your body, that new familiar.
Mm-hmm. And it's not going to happen on the one time. There's still times where I still monitor my heart rate, and then it won't be as high as it was before. And I'm like, whoa, what is happening? All right. So default mode network. Yeah. It's amazing to think that your brain is a computer, and a lot of stuff you learned was software. if that's the way that it's looked at. But to step out of that and see, I guess, that there is a default mode network first, to declare that, I think that makes a difference. And then to see that you can almost treat your life like a canvas, I would say, Aaron, is. And for those who don't paint or any of that, treat it as a project. Treat it as your own Taj Mahal. Imagine you're worth it because you are.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that comes up for people is when you have this default network, it's hard for people to embrace change. Because when you're trying to go outside of that default network, everything that is not in alignment with your current default network, your whole world is just going to start collapsing. So most people that try to make change happen, it's really hard for them. They feel a lot of resistance. Everything around them in the world starts to kind of enforce them back into that default network. And I think that's where a lot of people that try to make change happen, try to reach their goals, they feel a lot of resistance because they don't know that what's actually happening is there's past versions of yourself coming up that just wants to be seen, heard, and loved, to where you can advance into a new default network. My definition of default network as a hypnotist is the old way of programming from your childhood experiences. We're all a product of our childhood experiences. So with the product of our childhood experiences creates this hardware, computer, and that hardware is really hard to break if you're trying to make this change, and this change is causing fear from that past version of yourself. Now, when a trigger comes up, when you're trying to make a change, that trigger is going to put you back into that eight-year-old version of yourself. You're going to start seeing the world through the lens of that 8-year-old version of yourself, which is just your past experience. And it's going to be hard for you to see the opportunity when you're trying to upgrade into a new default network. I have more of awareness of what's actually going on and trying to create a new default network, which is something that I feel like society needs right now based on how society kind of programmed us to be. It actually gives them that liberation and empowerment to continue to love through all of the challenges that someone's facing when they're trying to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
Yeah, because it's not always going to be a sunshine and rainbow journey too. I think, like you were saying too, is that it's that overall thing to take it along with you. If you have the journey with you, is to just, I guess, to believe in yourself, and to believe that whatever it is that comes up, it's amazing to see. I guess for me, I'm just so shocked when, and I've seen it happen. And it doesn't have to be with the use of plant medicine or any of that. You can do this literally in a sober state too. Is to step out of your overall sense of being and to see what that looks like. It could even just be a phone call to someone you haven't talked to in a long time. And you may, and it's amazing to think you may have all those reactions after you have that phone call. But I'll tell you what, some people call it there's a distinction between the default mode network and the comfort zone, I think. But I honestly feel like, at least for me, I feel like they're very similar, if not the same. Just being able to see that it's not just the emotion as well too that could be in default, and how physiologically as well too that could all be tied and working too. Stress levels. I think one of the big things is when somebody has an actual stressful event or traumatic event. Again, I'm not here to diagnose, but literally these things happen, believe it or not, in today's world. The stress levels have been found to be up towards a certain level. And they increase and they stay at that level. I believe it's for up to 2 weeks. And then you finally come back down. So that's like this, I guess, passive wall that you could be up against, if I have to put it away. And people may, I'm trying X, Y, and Z, and I feel like I'm doing everything in the book. Well, did you look to your body? Did you look to see what maybe is happening on what you would consider autopilot? And it's not. And yeah, I guess.
Your physiology determines your psychology.
Mm-hmm.
It's a psychosomatic component right there. Our body literally changes the posture depending on emotions that are buried. Feelings buried alive never die. So if you're going through a lot of stress, your body's going to shift their posture to accommodate whatever is going on. So, for example, if you have a lot of tightness in your lower back on the left side and your hips are shifting, right pelvic shift, then maybe you're going to have shoulder pain. So like literally, if you think of somebody behind this red curtain and they're depressed, you're automatically going to see them with their shoulders slanted forward. Their head is down. They have a low tonality. And if you think of someone that's very successful and empowered, guess what their posture is going to look like? Chest is up, shoulders back, chin is up. So our posture determines our psychology too. And if you change the way you feel, your thoughts automatically change. It's really hard to change negative thoughts just by changing the way you think. But if you change how you feel, our thoughts will start automatically changing. So that's very powerful you said that, because our body will actually give us the signals of what's going on in our life. And if we can use our body as a signal, it helps us identify what's going on, and then you can actually regulate it, and your body starts to shift. Even with chronic pain, if you ever research Vibrator Wave, if you haven't yet, go
we can drop that. We can drop that in the. If you go and send it over, I can drop it. So go ahead, keep going though. Yes, vibrate away.
Awesome. What we're doing is they're sending vibration to the muscles to send to the brain, and the brain, we're telling that brain exactly what to do with that muscle, and it shifts that posture. And when it shifts that posture, sometimes we think if we have knee pain that's the source of the pain, but that source of the pain could be somewhere else in the body. So we tell that brain, once you tell the brain will start accommodating everything, and then restore balance and harmony back into your body with just vibration, like that vibration gun. You send that vibration to that muscle, you activate that muscle, and shoots back up to the brain, sends that information to the brain, and changes your posture. And also, when you change your posture, you change your emotions too. It's so profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you drop that link and people start searching that up, they're actually helping people break out of that pain matrix.
What has it been like for you, connecting and being able to like literally see video or hear feedback from another human being on this? And you mentioned the tool or the device, for those who didn't hear it, it's called a vibration gun, you said, correct?
Correct.
All right. Yeah. And just, I guess, what have you gotten from that experience in your being? We talked about stepping into new senses and area, but when you saw that impact, what was that like for you, Aaron?
Oh, it gives me chills, because they actually, I think you might know this too, Brett, they actually went out to Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's the pictures. I did see the pictures on your social media. Yes.
What's that?
I did see the pictures on your social media. Yes, they did went out to Kenya. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, they went out there, and then they were doing some charity events. Saved this is under exaggerating, if that's even a word, but over 300, 400 people were healed from just doing that. Any physical pain that they had, just sending that vibration, using that vibration gun, and just sending that correct amount of vibration, like the tempo of it, and the pressure the brain makes the accommodation to them. Mm-hmm. So it's just so profound, because people that have had chronic pain for a long time, it starts with the brain. The brain is a signal to the body. And so just being able to see how many lives were transformed, just going out to Kenya as well, mm-hmm. It's just so profound, bro.
Yeah. Wow. And to see that it's transportable, I think that's one of the things that's getting me. And again, this is new for me. I'm looking into it, and I'd rather talk about it, let other people talk about it as well, is the affordability aspect. I know back in nursing school, at least I believe it was in my critical care class, we were taught what's called the SOFA. And it was an overall practice that was put together by a bunch of physicians and healthcare professionals at large to literally look in and help decrease the risk of sepsis with people throughout the world. But the thing they found out is not everybody has the right supplies to take care of this, right? So what they all did when they put together was they put together the SOFA rule. And at SOFA, S-O-F-A, you can look it up for yourself too as well. You can do all the stuff at home, preventative measures if you'd like as well. Not a substitute for medical or nursing advice, but it is a criterion that you can use. And it's, you look at your blood pressure, you look at your temperature, you look at your respirations, and they didn't need a whole lot of equipment for this. They needed a blood pressure cuff where they were at, and they were going to third world countries. They were integrating this because sepsis is, for those who don't know what sepsis is too, it literally is, it's an infection in your bloodstream. You get a cut on your hand, or you had a potato chip for Thanksgiving, or for Black Friday, you decided to have some potato chips and you opened up a little hole in your mouth. Then that can sit there as long as you let it sit there and not care for it or whatnot, it can get an infection. Then once the infection gets serious enough, it's sepsis. And you can literally die from it. It's one of the big issues there. And to see the integration of that and to know that others are looking into using the minimalist tools that we need to, and it would be beautiful to find the ability to be able to have all of those and to be able to have other and additional tools, but to see that there's already a difference being made in this. And one of the biggest ones too is pain. Is one of the largest complaints, I think, in healthcare is people's pain and management of pain. And beyond pharmaceuticals, I think one of the big things I'm seeing is conversations, and I'm having him on Twitter, I'm having him on Facebook, I'm having him all over now, is people want to look into other alternatives for their own mental health and wellness beyond what's currently there. Even certain states have declared that what they know is currently in place is not enough. There's the, let me go ahead and look it up so I get it right. I always get this title wrong because it's so long, and and the title shouldn't be long either for these things either. I think they should be able to be easily said and talked about. The Natural Medicine Health Act for Colorado, where they literally did declare for their own that the overall system right now is not keeping up with what it is the demand for mental health and wellness and being, I guess is the way I look at it. It doesn't say being in the legislation. I'm saying that part. But to see that and to know that they're not going to, like we do, and we talk neural networks, default mode network, with the integration of these, I think generationally that's one thing we'll come up against is people's own responses to this. I mean, there was this huge conversation going on historically before me and you were even born, was drugs and guns. And there was this huge conversation on how terrible they were and what they can do. And it's not wrong, 120%. But I'll tell you this, so far from what I've found in my life, there are a lot more dangerous things to talk about than drugs and guns. And to see that the integration of science has been used for certain kinds of plant medicines and neurotransmitters within your brain, whether it's coming from proper diet and being able to have accessible and being able to see the difference that makes, that's still part of plant medicine too, is diet. I think it's not just strict, going to the marijuana and the other psychedelics and all of that some people may think is. It's this integration of that in society. We have a weird relationship, in my opinion, with plants, and they've been around longer than us, and they seem to have last I checked, Aaron, I didn't walk out and got cussed out by, a magnolia. What's the one that's the Christmas flower right now, or the holiday flower right now? Poinsettia. I didn't get bit by a poinsettia or by a poinsettia. But yeah, what I have seen with people is people can be turned or even felt loss of power at seeing a house plant that's dead or unkept. They'll bring that into conversation. But it's amazing that's the relationship we have, is telling people, your house plant's dying. Like that's one of them, or your celery's going bad in the fridge. Like that's the equivalent, I feel, of the conversation on plant medicine right now in certain states. But yeah, and to see that the integration of that with potentially what it is you're talking about, and to see the overall support of society and state and local governments, and seeing what that can really do to make a difference, and especially for the big subgroups. Your people who not only have past trauma, that maybe have mental health and other mental health and wellness issues that have been inpatient. I think there are these priority patient populations we could definitely look into if they're okay with it. I mean, some people don't even know that they're on planet Earth right now, and of those, that would say look to, like we have historically, look to their social structure, their approved legal people that we would talk to, whether it's their POA, whether it would be kin, if that's what they want to, because I think these are conversations to be had now, instead of, no, so-and-so sitting in this facility just taking pills every day, that's it. And some people, that's their conversation with it, Aaron. I'm going to share it. That's the way they see the system and what it is that they do. And some of those people, I'm realizing their conversation isn't invalid, and there's all this other stuff we could be doing. There's all these other things and options of things to do, and for some reason that's the only thing that's being done for X or for Y, whoever they are. And it's love. I feel the deep love in their voice when they say this, 120%. And I hear possibility as well. But the thing that they're up against is, I feel the same that me and you maybe is this conversation with potential alternative and complementative therapies, and being able to see that it's not all quackery as it has been talked about in the past. There's true differences being made, and it's just being able to raise transparency and awareness as to not only the impact that it's having, that it's actually there as another one, but I think being able to see as well that we may be up against something biological that could make a difference. And that could be someone's neural networks or their response with the presence of a plant there. Last I checked, some certain subgroups, people who exist, I don't use verbiage like boomer or any of that. I know I want to throw that out there, but it is people of different subgroups. They were raised and they were given what it is they were given in life, and they took what it is that they wanted to take, and if they could. I feeling that as the generational aspect of it, but being able to know that they could potentially use something that's been here longer than them, I think that shocks them, first of all, of knowing that there's other potential things that can make a true difference in their life, and that ones that they don't have to worry so much about money so much. I think a lot of the plant medicines I've seen are quite affordable. You're able to generate them yourself. Again, not here to condone any illegal activities, here to abide by state and local ordinances wherever you're at when you're listening. But for those who have delved down this avenue, that's why they feel that comfort for it, is they literally think that the planet has looked out for them and for humanity for a long time. And not saying that that's the only way to do it, but to see that it's been cast out as a conversation. And some people just really like houseplants. What's wrong with that? And then now they want to be able to have these other ones here, and we're saying that there's an issue, or there has to be this kind of a legislation on X, Y, and Z for it. And don't get me wrong, safety is important. I think, I don't know if this should be something you'd look into, but isn't it fascinating that you get to have that conversation with your family and get to recreate history and see what you're up against while that's all happening?
Absolutely.
Like, it's not weird for Aaron to talk about it, right? Because you're like, it's in the news. Like, it's literally law. Like,
yeah, it's really fortunate to be able to have these conversations, and then seeing where the world's at right now, to be able to kind of recreate history right there. Actually rediscovering what exists for us that I feel has been hidden from us purposely.
Yeah. No, I feel that. And there's things in society that seem to work, and they've just not been out in society. They've not been in conversation. Wow. Yeah. And to see that we have the support, I guess, so far. And I say we, I mean societally now. I guess the younger generations who wanted to talk about these things, but their parents were saying, no, it's not the way. Keep to your default. It's literally how they may have heard it. Just keep to your default mode network and keep on, and there's this literal want for elsewhere to look. And I think the other big thing is historically, we as humans, I think we've always existed looking for the answers in the external or in anywhere else out there. And we don't want to look within, in my opinion. And it's to know thyself. And that's one of even since ancient Greece, it's one of the greatest disciplines, I think, in life, is to know yourself, because it's amazing how that can change throughout the days, but it's still the discipline of wanting to know, a wonder and awe for yourself as you develop and grow. Like, because we're not done once you graduate. For some reason, societally, I feel like there's this stamp that is put on our heads after you graduate from high school, and it's like, nope, that's it. Now you have to help others grow, or that's you have to. I'm going to say statistically this: I've had listeners who've literally had their outcome is they sometimes feel societally there's a pressure to procreate, and it's not. If that's someone's mission and that's what they want, if that's what's going to bring them happiness and love, and then do it. There's nothing wrong with it, and that's it. But some people, they feel like if they're not doing that, or family, that's a whole other conversation. I say that I guess that's the conversations that happen before the conversations that really sometimes get in the way. But it's the times that sometimes that conversation that has before that conversation, what can really come out of that. I think that is another distinction to see that too, because it may be a neural network or a traditional thing that you're up against, and people get so mad or they get so torn apart that whatever it is that they're trying to get out of a conversation isn't being had. But it's like, are you using your thought process, or are you realizing that it takes two or more to converse? I'm not here to write the book on conversation. I'm not. I'm far from that. And anybody that does, if you have a book signing, let me know. But yeah. And I just think too, the other thing is worldwide. The other thing about plants is certain plants exist all throughout different parts of the world. And with certain coactive plants, there's maps that you can see. It's amazing how a lot of them they all have the same kind of components. at the organic matter level, but it's amazing to see how they're all equally dispersed throughout the world, very similar to us as humans. Yeah. It's not just generated in one area. They're spread out, they're resilient, and they're there. It's almost this reflection of humanity, I feel, too, is we're there, we're spread out.
Oh, yeah.
There's more than, yeah.
Wow. Pretty good. Yeah. And like I said, like it's just that rediscovering of those plant medicine. Now I don't have too much knowledge on it, but I am exploring the possibilities out there to be able to kind of be interconnected with emotional resonance, neuromuscular resonance, and plant medicine resonance. Because we're, that's source, that's nature. Human beings are nature too. So when I first started hearing about what plant medicine can do, I'm like, that doesn't seem like that's true.
Yeah, it doesn't seem true. It doesn't seem natural. But when you've had the experience, at least for me, yeah. If I can chime in too, what's one of the conversations, many conversations I get to have at the Psychedelic Science Conference is being able to see that not everybody has their great experience, but there's this community aspect about them, about plant medicine. People still get together and talk about how much they're that kind of apple or any of that. Don't get me wrong, certain apples can still have, mold or whatever else in them, and then you take them and literally that's plant medicine as well, in my opinion. It just wasn't expected. And some people even theorize, I'm kind of doing a little history here, but bear with me. Some people have even theorized, if we want to talk about plant medicine and the impact that it can really have, is anything that exists, it can be used for good or for evil, or things can come out of it. And its management of that is, there's theory that when we showed up as immigrants here in the United States, right before everything all started, and we had the Salem witch trials, the theory is one of the reasons why what happened was because there was rye, there was literal excuse me here, let me think it. It was literally was LSD. If I literally have to say what it was literally LSD. It was a small, very non-potent form of it, but it was mold that grew on the bread. And that's the theory that happened, is that not only did them also did because it was bread, they were trying to survive. And then what came out of that was, the theory here was a psychedelic experience, but also up against, spirituality and how it was at that time. Yeah. Because honestly, another thing is a lot of the history that is tied in, and this is a distinction to be had, I think, is spirituality, religion, and plant medicine. So what I found so far, I was in a room with a rabbi, a gentleman who had his PhD, when it came to Islam, in the room with the reverend. They were all sitting up on stage, and we were able to talk about psychedelics and the overall excerpts from each piece of literature, and it was great. One of the best things that happened was when this gentleman went up and he was like, he was on that question panel, and he was like, what is an excerpt in the Bible that I could tell my parents so that they would totally be okay with me using plant medicines? And they all laughed. And they're like, we're not here for that. We're not here to literally back you up or any of that. We're here to let you examine and see what the overall difference that can be made from this, and to see what comes out of that. Yeah. And it's a trust aspect. I mean, I think we're literally recreating a whole new kind of, actually, I don't feel like it's that way. Now I'm saying it. I honestly feel what's happening with the integration of other alternative and complementative occupations in healthcare is very similar to the overall integration first of all, post-prohibition, because you still had people who were literally, that were literally in prison for alcohol, right? Being able to generate and any of that. But yet we were still integrating them back into society. And I don't know, this is such an all conversation. It really is. But the big part is I get to be a part of it, and I get to be able to set and write the story of that, because I think I mentioned it earlier and it's coming back now. I had the conversation with my one elder about this, and I said, what's interesting is now, Ohio is the 24th state with recreational marijuana. It's going to be passed. It is passed, and it will be implemented in January, for those who don't know. And I could be wrong by tomorrow, so double check everything. To see that they got to rate the story. That's what I pretty much told my elder was, I was like, I know it's kind of different and weird that you have this stuff now kind of brought to the front of the table and you can look and talk about it. I was like, but what's the best part is I was like, I know it's morbid that your parent is not in existence anymore. I said, but there's things and there's pros and cons in life. And I said to them, I said, now you get to write the story on this stuff for your grandkids without your parents' interference. And he laughed. He just started laughing. And it's amazing how much the truth is. It's funny, right? When you figure that out.
Right.
But it is. I treat that as the novel reaction to that overall thought being implanted into someone of a different generation, of seeing that possibility, or being the pioneer that got to put it there because it wasn't able to be there before, whatever it was. And not all thoughts or conversations are used for malintent. I'm not here for that. But to see that, it was literally like discovering fire, in my opinion, to see that you get to have that conversation with them now, because by history with this person before, they literally, like, I had to hide. I would hide and use for because I am a medical patient, but I would hide and use the overall substances from these people. I would not trust them at all. And then when they finally started using the substances themselves, it was amazing that they're like, yeah, go ahead and like do whatever it is you have to do with it. Like, I have no problem with it. I'm here in support. Like, if it works for you, that's good. And they were weirded out that I was weirded out. And then they said, why are you weirded out? I'm like, like, not even a half decade ago, you were literally like barking at me for using this stuff. And now you're compliant with it. Like, this is what we were talking about default mode network too, right? Is that whole reintegration period when that happens for people, I bet you there's still people who haven't talked for 10, 20 years because of the integration of plant medicine into their life, if not 30, 40, 50 years, with other people. And now seeing that maybe this silent, poke at them, knowing, hey, now I can finally call, so-and-so and talk with them about it. Or at least I'm going to try that back on in my life, because I think it's going to make a difference. Because it makes a difference for me, and I can only imagine it for them. But there's people who've literally done plant medicine, and they used to smoke cigarettes, and they don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I had another individual I interacted with. There's an organization called MAPS. They're the one that put together the Psychedelic Science Conference. But the individual was an opioid addict. This individual I knew, they knew somebody, and they were connected with MAPS. And they literally went in and had a psychedelic experience on a substance called ibogaine. And for those who don't know about ibogaine, I highly encourage you. That's coming out. Again, like any other plant medicines I'm finding out. Same thing with the poppy plant. And it came to its overall concentrations, is we're all still trying to put all this together. And I think to integrate it. But they did one single session of ibogaine. And I believe ibogaine will last between 12. Don't quote me on any of this. I believe it's 8 to 12 hours. But they went almost over a decade without having any real cravings, because that's the other thing with these overall substances, is that their integration with not only addiction and mental health and wellness, but to see that individual went almost a whole decade without even, and I don't really think they relapsed. I have to check with the individual who told me this, but that's pretty much their point. When I mentioned I was at the Psychedelic Science Conference because I was in a program, they're like, I love MAPS. They're like, this is what happened. That was the conversation that was had. They're like, yep, used to be an opioid addict, did this, not. And it's not a one size fits all by any means. That's just the story in which he was able to tell it to me. There's the actual story versus what it is you're able to relay to others too. So, wow, no, this is great. I appreciate it. Yeah. We need to be a part of this. This is, I love it. All right. Yes. So we were talking about plant medicines and being able to look at the potentiality and possibilities. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Aaron?
Yeah, no, I want to touch base real quick on, you're talking about 80% of the population is going through some financial.
From what I saw on Yahoo, yes.
Actually, like some nurses that I work with that were travel nurses as well are starting to see lower pay salaries, and they are in the fear of money going to the next assignment and the next one. So I actually connected with a emotional fitness trainer, encompasses around money and reframing what money means to someone. Because if you have one relationship in one part of your life, you have a relationship in all parts of your life. So I wanted to share with you kind of like a solution to those that are challenged with money right now, where you can kind of reframe your relationship with money, which then starts to kind of attract more money to you, so to say. So what we're doing is on December 8th, we are doing a live Zoom event to help you understand what your relationship is like emotionally with money, and how to rewire your nervous system into bringing more abundance of money in your life, so that way you can provide for your family and for yourself. And it's a huge topic in society right now, especially where kind of the currency of money is going right now. And then after COVID, we all took a big hit from it. So that's something that I want to touch base with right now. For those that are actually being challenged with that, I can share the link with you, Brett,
Sure.
on attending that event. It's a free event to help rewire your beliefs about money, so that way you can increase your financial abundance.
Yeah. And it is a lot of it. And it's amazing that I think money it's just a conversation, I think, for those who want to look at it.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that I'm a sage or that I've found all the answers to life by any means. In my own meandering experience, it has. Because we made it up. We definitely made it up. Definitely made up money was a conversation. But we'll definitely drop that in. And I didn't know, after that, did you want to close us with your empowering quotes to bring us back, Aaron?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go here. It is not our past experiences that made us who we are today. It is how we recorded our past experiences that made us who we are today. You change the recording of that memory, you change your personality, which then changes your reality.
Wow. Yeah, I have to pick a part of the show, and I have to always remember this part because sometimes I forget it, where I say, Brett, does this guest make you feel empowered? And Aaron, you certainly make me feel empowered. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you.
All right, everybody. This has been episode 40 with Aaron of the Empower Podcast. If you go ahead and like, subscribe, follow all that information, and go ahead and check Aaron out too as well. And we'll go ahead and we'll listen to you the next time, everybody else. Thank you. Bye for now.